What's going on, Headrush family? So, I'm noticing there's a lot of new users and they're having questions about scenes and levels and stuff like that. And I want to go through my process of building a rig with three scenes, one for clean, dirty, and rhythm, or rhythm and lead. And this video has been done before, but for the newer people where the video may be buried and they're asking a lot of questions, I'm going to show you exactly how I set things up, and we're going to go for a clean to a Marshall type tone. First things first, what I always do is I take this gain on the input, and that can be found by tapping right here, and I go down to -2, sometimes -2.5. And the reason that I do this is because I don't want to push my amps too hard. I like for it to have a little bit of breathing room in case you have hot pickups. Like the Ibanez that I'm using now has a tone zone in the bridge, just for reference. And I build probably about 90% of the Sonic DNA rigs that are in standard tuning on this guitar. So that way I have a bass line and it's not all over the place. Next thing I do is I take my gate threshold up to about, let's go around right there, around 100.2. And I do this so you're not exactly clipping off the notes and you're losing your sustain, but you're blocking out some excess noise. Gate release, I keep it 11. Noise filter, this, because I'm going to be building a rig with distortion and higher gain, I'm going to take my noise filter up to probably around 88.5. And you're going to hear sirens probably going on. It's a busy day for EMS around here. I don't know why. So up next, for the sake of guarding what's in the update, I've already preloaded my amps. And what I'm going to be working with is a lead 800 100 watt, the old JCM. And for the clean channel, I've already loaded the 84J120H, which is the Roland JC120. And this is an excellent clean amp. And you can save 2 blocks by using this amp, because if you like chorus with your cleans, it's already on there. If you like reverb with your cleans, it's already on there. So that's 2 blocks that you can save. And that's really the simplest way I know to do it. For the IR, I'm using one of the Marshal Greenback Pros from the Producer Pack. And I'm set up right now on the 5757 cap edge hot glass expanded. I didn't have the real feels whenever this came out. I'm going to do an update for it though. But I like this because it has a really wide choice of mics. Like you can go to the cap edge, the center, the cone, and it really enables you to shape your sound. So I'm going to let you hear my bass line tone now of what I have. Okay. And I've got my high cut. Well, let's take this down. I like to also go to about -6 dB. The sirens are really getting it, aren't they? And I'm going 7,500 on the high cut and 75 hertz on the low cut. Now, if I want to fatten this sound up a little bit, I'll find something with a 121 mic. There's a 121 off axis. We're going to go with that for now, and if we decide to change it later, we will. One of the first things that I do to get a more amp-like tone is I go over here, and some of you have seen this, some of you have not, but I have a preset called Sag, and this really beefs that amp up and gives it a more analog feel. So my settings for that are -18.2 on the threshold. Attack is 10.41 milliseconds. Gain is 3.8 dB. Ratio is 2.1 to 1. Release is 10 milliseconds. And knee is 8.1. So we will listen to that without. Now let me kick this in. So now you see with that thickness, it sounds like we're kicking in a little bit more of the speaker air moving. We're getting a little bit more of what sounds like power amp. So in all my rigs, my recent rigs, you'll see that, and that's what it's doing there. And I'm using brand new strings on this thing, so I hope it stays in tune. Now that we've kicked that Dynacomp in, things are going to be a little thicker, so we may not need that 121 mic. So we're going to go back to the old tried and true 57 cap edge. I don't like it, so I'm going to go to a 57 160 cap edge. All right, so the 160 is a pretty neutral mic, and we're going to stay with that. And the cap edge makes it a little bit darker than on the cone. If I wanted to go a little bit darker than cap edge, though, I would go to cone. Listen to this. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to keep that, because once I start throwing gain on this thing, it's going to get a little bit fizzy. Now, the secret to having these things where they sound organic and it don't sound buzzy is, number one, your high and your low cut, which I showed you. And number two, this preamp. People think high gain amp, I'm going to boost that preamp. It's not too bad with this amp. I'm going to turn the bass down because all of my controls are set on 50. So I'm going to turn this bass down. But as you introduce that preamp, you're going to add some fizz. So what I like to do is I like to back it off to the edge of breakup. Just to a crunch. Right. And I haven't even adjusted my mids or my highs yet. I'm just going to take the mids up to around 57, the treble up to around 67. All right. So we've got it set right there, and we're going to put a drive or two in front, and we're going to, stacking drives with the distortion down is a good way to get clarity and not get fizz. I went over this in my fizz fight video, so I'm going to go on and load in this white boost, turn the gain all the way down, and I'm going to put in the green JRC, just because it's tried and true. In my green JRC, the drive is set at 0, the tone is at 50, the level is at 90. And what we're doing is we're simulating pushing the front end of this amp. So let me turn these off. So I'm already finding myself wanting to find a different mic combination. I think the cone is a little too dark. Let's try something different. Let's try a Slodano with Legends. Go with a real feel. Yeah, we'll stick with that. All right, so it sounds really dry right now. So let's add in a little bit of spring delay. Take this mix down, because if the mix is too high, it's going to be weak. So the more you back this mix off, put our tone a little lower. let's turn this master down. We don't want it to get too farty. Over here on this white boost, now that we have all this in place, crank that level. Now we're getting where I want to be. So let's say that I like this as my rhythm tone, but I do want to back that reverb off a little. I don't want it to be too much. All right, let's go and assign this global setting. Oops, my bad. Hardware assign. I don't edit anything out. It's all raw, people. So we're going to change this from toggle to scene. Edit. We're going to have the white boost on. We're going to have the green JRC on. We're going to have the amp on. Yep, amp on. And over here, we're going to make sure that this JC120 is off. Our spring reverb on, IR on, and Dynacomp on. So here's our rhythm. All right, not bad. Now, what I like to do is I like to set up my rhythm, and then I like to go back and do my clean, and then I'll go and, you know, after everything's added in for clean, I'll go back to the rhythm amp and I'll set up for a lead. So now we're going to turn our drives off, this amp off, and go with the rolling. Get this up to a better volume. I want to reduce my reverb on it. Turn the spring reverb off. My chorus is a little too fast, so we're going to turn the rate down. The depth down. Try it with single coils. All right. So if I decide that I want to delay, 9 times out of 10, what I'm going to go with is the BBD. And the reason that I go with the BBD, I just loaded the mod course, by the way. So the reason that I go with the BBD is because you have end gain here. You can also use that end gain as a boost for leads or to boost your clean channel. So if I play, all right, I don't like a lot of feedback, so I'm going to turn that down. I want to make it a little longer. All right, my mix down because I don't want it so dominant. So this end gain, if I turn it up, it's giving me a volume boost, right? Let's check our outputs, make sure we're not too loud. We're not in the yellow, that's a good sign. We're right where we want to be. All right, so pretty basic clean setup. Another pro tip, if you want to shape your amp and your tone further and add more of a boost, but you don't want to delay, this is always a good place after the amp. If you put it in front, you're going to push that amp and you're going to distort things. So we're going to go default, and I want to brighten it up a little. So let's add in some highs and some mids. There we go. That's a good way to boost it up, but I'm going to leave that off for now because I don't want it on. I don't know how it's going to interfere with my lead channel. So we're going to set this up with the delay. And I'm not really going for a specific tone or anything. I'm just doing this quickly to walk you guys through my process. for the new people. Some of you that's been around for a while, y'all already know. So we're going to go to hardware assign. We're going to go toggle over here on this first block, edit, white boost off, green JRC off. Amp 2 is going to be off because that's our Marshall. This amp will be on. Spring reverb off, EQ off, delay we're going to have on, IR on, and we're going to leave the Dynacomp on because we're getting a volume boost from that too. Alright, let's make sure that we haven't added anything. You always want to go back and make sure that you're not adding anything that you don't want on the rhythm channel. So we'll turn that delay off because I don't want it, and we'll turn that EQ off because I don't want it. Now let's go from scene 5, which is our clean, to scene 6, which is our rhythm. Bit more master volume on that to thicken it up. There we go. I'm bring a little more bass in. I like chunky. Once again, without those drives, bring the level back. Okay, now we have 2 blocks left, and we want to have a lead channel. Of course, on a lot of your lead channels, you're going to want that reverb that just cuts right on through, washes it up, envelops it, and just makes it sound lush. So we're just going to pick Big Theater, and that's what that sounds like. You want to bring that mix down to around 38 to 35. So this is a good time to throw this EQ on, this delay on. We're going to turn the end gain down and the mix down. We're going to bring down the decay. We're going to bring down the tone so it ain't so sharp. Pre-delay we're going to bring down, mix down. Now remember, we put a ton of highs in here. So we're going to dial this back, and we're going to make because we want a lead boost and something that cuts through, we're going to go with a reverse smiley face deal. And don't be afraid to bring those lows up on your lead channel, because there's nothing worse than going for a lead and it just sounds harsh and tinny. So I prefer to bring those lows up because sounds a lot better than picking that up. So we're going to take our delay out a little longer for this, a little more feedback, and we're going to bring the mix up. And that's without it. If you want to do a lead boost, take it up to around 2.5. See how it kind of thickens it up and makes it more focused. It's going to cut through in a mix. Now for this, we're going to go hardware assign. We're going to take amp 2. We're going to do white boost on, green JRC on, amp 2 on, amp 1 off, because you don't want both those amps on at once. Turn that spring reverb off, graphic EQ on, delay on, IR on, reverb on, and Dynacomp on. So now let's go through our scenes. That's how I do it. That is a simple setup for a nice, clean, in the Marshall tone. It's nice and thick. And once again, the IR that I'm using is, these are actually on sale now. All my IRs are on sale now as of recording this video. This is the Slodano Legend Hot Glass Expanded Real Feel Expansion Pack. Those are available at sonicdna.com. And yeah, it's just a nice little all-around rig. You can build along at home, go get the pack, check it out. We'll go through a few more here. And to explain mics, a 121 is going to be a little darker. The 160 is going to be a little more neutral. The 414 is a room mic. It's going to be a little more airy. 421 is going to be a little softer. And 57 it's going to sound like that. Anyway, oh, and a T57, I forgot that I put the T57s in this one. They're a little more high focused. So anyway, that is the simplest way to do it. Build along at home. If you want the IRs, they're at sonicdna.com. And I hope this helps some of you newer guys understand the process of building rigs and scenes and getting the ultimate cleans out of it. And as well as getting rid of the fizz. The pro tip on that is to keep your gain down and use drives with no gain in the front, no distortion, but you're pushing the amp. Hope this helps. Y'all have a good one.